As we get older, we begin to see life a little differently. The noise fades, the crowds thin out, and what truly matters becomes crystal clear. We stop chasing things that once seemed so important. We stop explaining ourselves to people who never really listened. And most of all, we start protecting our peace like never before. But even with all that wisdom, there's something that still pulls at us: the past. People from years ago may suddenly reach out, old friends, distant relatives, even former partners. They say things like, "We should catch up," or "Let's not lose touch." And part of us, the part that remembers the good times, wants to say yes, wants to believe that things can be different now. But the truth is, not every door from your past deserves to be reopened. Some people, some relationships, and some memories were only meant to be part of a chapter, not the whole story. So today, I want to talk to you about something most people only learn the hard way: the importance of choosing not to go back, not out of bitterness, not out of pride, but out of self-respect. Because the older you get, the more you realize peace is not just a feeling, it is a choice, and it's one you have to make every single day. In this video, we're going to explore 4 types of people and why letting them back into your life can quietly cost you more than you realize. These aren't always bad people, but they're the kind of people who, over time, can undo the healing and growth you've worked so hard to earn. And once you understand the patterns, you'll never look at these situations the same again. 1. The ones who resent your growth. As we grow older, we begin to realize that not everyone in our life was truly cheering for us. Some were just comfortable with who we used to be, especially when that version of us was uncertain, struggling, or dependent. Growth is beautiful, but to certain people, your growth feels like a loss, not a gain. They feel left behind, even if you never meant to leave them. You might hear comments like, "You've changed," or "You think you're better than us now." At first it sounds like teasing, but over time you notice a pattern. Their words don't lift you up. They chip away at you, little by little. These people may not openly attack your progress, but they subtly question it. They downplay your choices. They remind you of who you used to be, not to celebrate how far you've come, but to quietly pull you back down. The danger here is not just in what they say, it's in how they make you feel. You begin to doubt yourself. You start shrinking again to make others comfortable. You begin to wonder if it's safer to stay quiet, to stop reaching, to not grow any further. But here's the truth: anyone who resents your growth is not protecting you. They are protecting their comfort. They are struggling with their own stagnation and, without realizing it, they are projecting that struggle onto you. You are not responsible for their fear. You are not required to dull your light just because someone else refuses to shine. As you age, you must become more selective about who has access to your energy. Keep close the people who celebrate your growth, the ones who encourage you, who are inspired by you, who clap when you win, even when they are still waiting for their own victory. And for those who can't do that, it's okay to love them from a distance. Your growth is sacred. Do not let anyone treat it like an inconvenience. 2. The ones who can't see your growth. There comes a time in life, usually after many storms, quiet nights, and hard lessons, when you begin to grow in ways you never thought possible. Not just on the outside, but within. You become more thoughtful, more grounded. You speak more gently, choose your battles wisely, and learn how to say no without guilt. You protect your peace. You slow down and think deeper. You begin to understand that becoming wiser is not about knowing more. It's about needing less. But just when you begin to feel steady in who you are, something unexpected happens. Certain people in your life continue to treat you as if you haven't changed at all. They talk to you like you're still the same person you were years ago, the person who doubted themselves, who didn't know how to set boundaries, who stayed too long in situations that were not good for them. They hold on to an outdated image of you, like a photograph frozen in time, and no matter what you say or do, they don't update that picture. You start to hear the same comments again and again. You've always been like that. You've never been good at that. You've always been too sensitive. At first, you let it go. You tell yourself they just haven't seen the new version of you. But after a while, it starts to wear on you. It starts to feel like you're being pulled backward, back into an identity you've already outgrown. And worse, you begin to question yourself. You start wondering if maybe you haven't changed as much as you thought. That's the quiet danger of staying in relationships where people refuse to see your growth. You begin to internalize their limited view of you. You begin to shrink, not because you've become small, but because someone close to you insists on seeing you that way. This experience is especially painful when it comes from people you've loved for years, a parent who still talks down to you, a sibling who refuses to see your maturity, a friend who always brings up your past mistakes, even though you've made peace with them long ago. They're not always trying to hurt you. Sometimes they're just holding on to the version of you that fit into their world more easily. Maybe they liked it better when you were unsure, when you didn't speak up, when your presence didn't challenge their own lack of growth. But whatever the reason, their refusal to acknowledge your transformation is not harmless. It creates a pressure to perform a past version of yourself just to make the relationship feel comfortable. You laugh at jokes that don't feel funny anymore. You downplay your progress. You stay silent when your spirit wants to speak. And over time, you start to forget who you've become, not because you've lost your way, but because you're standing in front of someone who's refusing to see you clearly. The truth is, real connection cannot exist without recognition. If someone cannot or will not see your present self, then they're not truly connecting with you. They're connecting with a memory of who you used to be. And a memory should never have more power than your reality. You are not the person you were 10 years ago. You are not defined by your old habits, your past mistakes, or the seasons in your life that were built on survival instead of strength. You've grown, you've learned, you've healed, you've done the quiet, difficult work of becoming someone more whole. That matters, and that deserves to be seen. So how do you protect yourself from people who can't or won't acknowledge your growth? You stop trying to convince them. You stop explaining yourself to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. You begin to surround yourself with people who ask about your present instead of constantly reminding you of your past. You create space to breathe, space to evolve, space to be who you are now. And you learn to love some people from a distance, not because you hate them, but because you finally love yourself enough not to keep playing a role you've already outgrown. It's not about anger, it's about truth. The person you are today deserves to be seen, respected, and loved without having to prove anything to anyone. If someone cannot honor that, then it's okay to walk away, or at least step back. You didn't work this hard to change only to keep being seen through the eyes of someone who refuses to grow with you. Growth is not just about changing your life. It's also about protecting your transformation from those who pretend it never happened. 3. The ones who betrayed you. There's no wound quite like betrayal. It doesn't always shout. It doesn't always leave visible scars, but it leaves a mark. Deep, invisible, and lasting. And the truth is, betrayal doesn't always come from enemies. In fact, it almost never does. It comes from the people you trusted the most, the ones you let into your private world, the ones you thought would never turn on you, a friend you treated like family, a relative you supported in their lowest moment, a partner you believed would stand beside you no matter what. And when the betrayal happened, when they lied, turned their back, or acted out of self-interest, something inside you broke. It wasn't just about what they did. It was about what their actions revealed, that your loyalty was never mutual, that your vulnerability had been mishandled, and that their version of love came with conditions. With time, you may have tried to make peace with it. Maybe you told yourself it was a misunderstanding, that they didn't mean it, that people change. And as the years passed, the memory softened, the anger faded, the pain dulled, just enough for you to wonder, should I give them another chance? This is where many people go wrong. They mistake the passing of time for healing. They think that just because it hurts less, it must be safe to return. But not all time heals. Sometimes time only creates distance between you and the truth. And the truth is this: when someone betrays you, it is never an accident. It is a choice, a moment where they decided that their own gain, whether emotional, financial, social, or otherwise, mattered more than your trust. When someone makes that kind of choice, it tells you everything you need to know. It tells you where you stand in their priorities. It tells you what they're capable of. And most importantly, it tells you what they are willing to risk to serve themselves. Going back to that person, walking into their home again, laughing with them like nothing happened, that doesn't just reopen a wound. It sends a message. It tells them that what they did had no lasting consequences, that you're still willing to share your space, your energy, and your time with someone who already showed you how little those things meant to them. And what does that do? It gives them permission to hurt you again. Maybe not in the same way, maybe not right away, but deep down, they've learned that no matter what they do, you'll still be there, still open, still available. That's not love. That's self-betrayal. Now, this doesn't mean you carry hate. It doesn't mean you walk around angry. You can forgive someone, truly forgive them, and still never let them back into your life. Forgiveness is something you do for your own peace. Reconnection is something you do only with those who have earned the right. And most people who betray you never truly earn that right back. Not because they're incapable of change, but because they often don't take accountability. They don't apologize in a way that's honest. They don't acknowledge the depth of what they did. And if you bring it up, they say things like, "That was a long time ago," or "You're too sensitive," or worse, they pretend it never happened at all. That kind of gaslighting, that rewriting of history, is a second betrayal, one that twists the knife deeper. You deserve better. You deserve to live the rest of your life free from the weight of old betrayals, free from the tension of pretending something didn't hurt when it did, free from walking on eggshells around someone who once stepped all over your dignity. Walking away is not weakness, it's strength. It's knowing that not every relationship is meant to be salvaged, that some bridges were meant to burn, not to destroy the other person, but to keep you from crossing back into pain. And sometimes we hold on to guilt for too long. We think, maybe I overreacted, or maybe I should have handled it differently. But ask yourself this: did they make space for your pain? Did they take full responsibility? Did they ever try to repair what they broke? If the answer is no, then the chapter has already closed. You don't owe them an encore. As we grow older, we realize that time is precious. Every day matters. Every conversation, every shared moment, every person in your life. They all take up space. And when you've earned your peace, you must protect it. That means being honest about who belongs in your life and who doesn't. Betrayal is not something to brush aside. It is a signal, a flashing red light that says, this person has already chosen themselves over you once. Do not let them choose again on your time, your terms, and your heart. You are not bitter for setting boundaries. You are not heartless for moving on. You are not cold for protecting yourself. You are wise. You are grounded. You are finally clear on what love is supposed to look like and what it isn't. Love does not harm. Love does not abandon in moments of need. Love does not use trust as leverage. And if someone you once loved violated that trust, the most loving thing you can do now is honor yourself by not going back. You may remember the good times. That's okay. You may still feel a part of your heart soften when you think of who they used to be. That's human. But you must let the memory be just that, a memory, not a roadmap, not a reason to reopen the door, because your future deserves better than what they gave you in the past. So as you sit in the life you've worked so hard to build, let this be a quiet reminder. You don't need to revisit the place where your trust was broken just to prove you've healed. Healing is walking past that door, feeling nothing but peace, and choosing to keep walking. 4. The ones who live in misery. There are people in this world who have built their entire identity around being unhappy. Misery is not just something they feel from time to time. It has become their way of life. They carry it with them, like a heavy coat they refuse to take off, no matter the season. And when you enter their space, you can feel it. The air changes, the energy shifts. Conversations turn quickly into complaints. Joy is treated like it's suspicious. Hope is seen as naive. And before you even realize it, their sorrow starts to seep into your spirit. These are not evil people. In fact, many of them have been hurt deeply. Life has knocked them down more than once, and somewhere along the way, they stopped getting back up. But instead of healing, they held on to their pain. Instead of facing it, they fed it. They nurtured their suffering until it grew into something familiar, something they could depend on. It became their story, the one they tell themselves and anyone who will listen. And when you show up with your light, with your laughter, with your progress and peace, it makes them uncomfortable. Not because they don't want better for you, but because your joy reminds them of everything they've stopped reaching for. Misery can be subtle. It doesn't always come with dramatic outbursts or loud negativity. Sometimes it comes in the form of small, constant complaints. It sounds like pessimism disguised as realism. It's the voice that says, "That'll never work," or "You're too old to start something new," or "Why bother trying?" It masks itself as concern or wisdom, but underneath, it's fear. Fear of change, fear of effort. Fear that if someone close to them grows, they will be left behind. The danger is, if you spend enough time in their company, you start to see the world through their lens. At first, you're just being kind, listening, trying to help. You offer advice. You encourage them. You try to lift them out. But they don't want out. Not really. Because change requires effort, and they're more comfortable complaining than committing. They don't want a solution. They want someone to sit beside them in the dark and agree that the light is just too far away. And if you stay, if you keep returning to that environment, their misery starts to pull you down. Not all at once. Slowly, quietly. You begin to feel drained after every visit. You start second-guessing your own joy. You begin apologizing for your progress, downplaying your blessings, dimming your light so it doesn't make them feel worse. That's how it works. Misery doesn't just live in one person. It spreads. This is why it is so important, especially as you get older, to be mindful of who you surround yourself with. Your energy is not infinite. Your peace is not guaranteed. You have spent decades earning your growth, your calm, your healing. You cannot afford to have all of that slowly chipped away by someone who refuses to take responsibility for their own healing. You can love them. You can pray for them. You can wish them well. But you cannot keep sacrificing your well-being for someone who won't even try to save their own. And let's be honest, some of these people may be family. They may be friends you've known for half your life. That makes it harder. The history is deep, the guilt is real, but connection without balance becomes a burden. Just because you've known someone forever doesn't mean you're required to carry them into your future. Relationships must evolve, or they begin to erode your spirit. If someone is determined to stay stuck, they will try to keep you stuck too, not always out of malice, but because they don't want to be alone in their bitterness. You owe it to yourself to rise above that, to recognize that you cannot fix someone who does not want to be fixed. You cannot teach someone to see the sunrise if they've decided to only ever look at the night. You can love them, but you must also protect yourself. That might mean spending less time with them. That might mean setting firmer boundaries. That might even mean walking away for good. And that is okay. Your peace is not selfish. Your peace is sacred. And as you get older, you learn that being protective of your mental and emotional space is not rude. It is responsible, it is wise, and it is necessary. There will always be people who choose misery, but you do not have to choose it with them. You can choose joy, you can choose hope, you can choose to move forward, even if they stay still. That's not abandonment. That's honoring the life you still have left to live. So if you find yourself constantly leaving someone's home or someone's presence, feeling heavier than when you arrived, pay attention. Your spirit is speaking to you. Listen. Not everyone deserves that kind of access to your heart, especially when they're not doing the work to heal their own. At this stage in life, peace is not a luxury. It's a necessity. Choose it boldly, protect it fiercely, and never feel guilty for walking away from anything that threatens it. As we move through the later seasons of life, we begin to understand something we didn't always know in our younger years, that peace is not something we stumble upon by accident. It's something we have to actively protect. And often protecting our peace means making hard decisions. It means choosing distance over familiarity, silence over unnecessary drama, stillness over chaos. And yes, it means closing doors that once felt open and warm, but over time proved to be places of pain. The people we talked about today, the ones who resent your growth, the ones who can't see it, the ones who betrayed your trust, and the ones who live in misery, they each teach us something important. They show us the cost of keeping the wrong people too close for too long. And they remind us that just because someone has a place in your history doesn't mean they deserve a place in your future. Letting go does not make you cold. It does not make you unkind. It makes you clear. It makes you wise. It makes you someone who finally realizes that your emotional well-being is worth more than old loyalty, worn-out guilt, or uncomfortable obligation. You've spent years becoming who you are today. That version of you deserves to be surrounded by peace, by respect, and by people who truly value the person you've become. So if there are doors in your life that call you back, but your spirit feels uneasy, trust that feeling. You don't need to walk through every open door. Some are left open only to test whether you've finally learned to choose yourself. And when you do, when you gently walk away and protect what's sacred, you give yourself the gift of freedom. This stage of life is too precious to waste on second chances that lead to the same heartache. Close the door, keep walking, and don't look back.